The presenting sponsor of Moon Tower Soccer is FVF Law.
To find out what makes FVF a different kind of injury law firm, you can visit fvf.law.
Hello friends, thanks for listening to Moon Tower Soccer. This week, we will be joined by Scott Speck for our annual over-under prediction game. We're also going to cover the Austin FC news of the week, including jersey rankings, where Jeremiah and I go over our favorite and least favorite MLS jerseys of the year. We're going to talk about another international roster spot trade. We'll talk about quite a few other things, as well as our Minnesota United preview, because it is game week. This is no longer rehearsal. We're going live this week. So my name is Landon Cottom, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Jeremiah Bentley.
Hey everybody, I'm Jeremiah Bentley, and we've made it through that point. Well, through the offseason. Every year the season ends, and I'm like, are we going to be able to fill time every week until the season starts back up again? And then somehow magically it all happens, and then we get game week, and then we get into a little bit of a routine, which I dig. So I'm excited about that. But let's also...
The first week back is always pretty busy as well, because we've got stuff going on with our show. There's a bunch of stuff going on with other shows. We've got, I know that the two of us are in the same two fantasy leagues, and then I'm in an additional one on top of that. Do you get fantasy draft anxiety or stress, Jeremiah? Because I kind of do.
Do you feel like you have to be, you need to be better because it somehow speaks your credibility as a pundit, on how your fantasy leagues teams turn out?
On one of them, especially because it is
with the other,
the North End's Best Ball League. That one is published and broadcast for other folks to see, and I'm competing against the other people, or we are competing against the other people. The other ones, it's mostly just the Golden Boot League that we're in together. That's just us and our friends just doing a dumb thing for fun. And the other one is kind of the same way, so I feel less pressure in those. But the North End one is the one I do get the most nervous about. I do want to take a moment to brag on my team name for our Golden Boot League that we're doing with our buddies. Jeremiah, are you a Bad Bunny fan, and did you catch the reference in my team name?
I am a Bad Bunny fan. I did not catch the reference. I understood the reference, but I didn't catch it as a Bad Bunny reference.
My team name is DeBÍ MaRCAR más GOLeS, which is, Bad Bunny fans will get it, but I'm very proud of it. Hopefully it comes true, because I did not do great in this Golden Boot League. And there's there's so many people. And so we're going to be picking goalkeepers by the end of the draft this year.
Yeah, 14 now. So I took Messi with the first pick, and then I will pick again at 28. And I was the 28th leading scorer in Major League Soccer did not score a lot of goals. I don't know who that is, but here we are.
Yeah, this is going to be wild. One other thing we want to talk about is I kind of meant to do it last week, but I could not be trusted to keep a show outline in order last week. But Jessica Luther, friend of the show, great person, very smart and accomplished journalist, is booting up her podcast, Burn It All Down again. They're doing a Kickstarter right now. They did an episode with our very own Steph Cragnola about figure skating, because the Olympics are on. Steph grew up as a competitive figure skater. So check that one out. That would be a great endpoint. But they're doing a GoFundMe to try to fund the reboot of this podcast. It's a collection of very much more smart and talented and accomplished than we are on our show. Many or most of them are capital J journalists who are doing real work in sports, specifically women's sports. And so if that's something you feel like you want to support and promote, then either listen to the show at the very least, or if you want to, feel free to give to their Kickstarter so they can keep this going at a high level for longer.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll put that link in the show notes so people can support it. But they're on all the socials, wherever you find the socials. They got the Kickstarter. I think she said they did 400 or something. It was a bunch of episodes, 465 episodes they published before shutting it down. So happy to have them back. Happy to have these voices back talking about sports, and always happy to support Jessica.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the news of the week. Let's start with preseason matches, some of which we got to see, some of which we did not. There were 2 of those this week. Probably end up leaning a little bit heavier on the one that we did get to see, even though there's parts of it maybe we don't really want to talk about. But yeah, the last 2 games of the Coachella Valley Invitational, it was a 2-2 draw against Chicago and then a 2-0 loss against Sporting Kansas City, which was kind of a chaotic one. Let's start with the Chicago game, Jeremiah. What should we talk about on this one?
Well, these are all the goals of the whole preseason. Is that correct?
Yeah, because there weren't any goals in that first one. So
Yeah, no goals in this one. So good to see Jaden Nelson get a goal. I don't know when we talk about Robert Taylor, but good to see Robert Taylor get a goal. I feel like that's a guy that's been polarizing and I think generally hasn't lived up to expectations. So we didn't see, I guess we saw a clip of the goal. We don't really know like how he played overall, but I will take that for sure.
There was some people there on the ground. Friend of the show, Tom Halleck, was one of them. And on his reporting, he said that he quite liked what he saw out of Taylor during that Chicago game. And he ends up getting the goal. I am a person who has not 100% given up on Robert Taylor, despite what we saw last year. I still believe, and there's a lot of Austin FC players in that camp, right? Of
Right.
like guys that I've seen play elsewhere. I'm like, no, but they are good at soccer. I know it. I've seen them do it. And they just can't do it in a Verde jersey for some reason. I'm not 100% out on Robert Taylor. Hopefully this is a sign of that being true, but yeah, we didn't get to see it, so who knows?
Yeah, and was this the game where Tom Halleck was dressed in a banana costume, or was that the?
He was,
Okay.
and it got put on the broadcast for a very brief moment. So great job, Tom.
Yeah, and it
You're
ended
doing
up
great
in
work out there.
ended up in Verde all day. For those of you that subscribe to that, there's a photo of him that is like the one Austin FC thing you might have noticed. So I don't know that we need to learn a lot about those other games. You have to note that both Chicago goals came from set pieces. It's probably concerning. It's not great to see.
I mean, maybe it's concerning. I don't know. It's such small sample sizes that it could be, but it could not be. I think it is worth mentioning that the Chicago game was a bit more of a mixed lineup. Damian Loss started that one. Trevor, who sends in questions pretty regularly when we do listener questions, he has watched a lot of Louisville City games and said that one of Damian's weaknesses is commanding the box and set pieces. And so he's like, we didn't see it. We don't know how it happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's not as good in those moments as Brad Stuver has become since kind of improving in that area over the last few seasons. So all speculation. I think some of the stuff that we learned as far as like how Austin was lined up, where certain guys were playing is also true in the Kansas City game. So maybe we'll cover a bit more of that there. But yeah, 2-2 draw against Chicago, kind of all we know. Let's move on to Kansas City. That one was a 2-0 loss. This was maybe the last time Austin FC will ever wear the Armadillo kit, which was kind of a funny thing to see them wear a defunct kit. But I'm guessing they don't want to wear the new one out
until it's like for sale already or whatever. I didn't quite get that, but okay.
It was for sale during this game.
Sale. That's right. Yeah.
But yeah, maybe they want to give it a bigger stage for its debut.
Well, let's talk about you have some notes about the first half, which was not as chaotic as the second half for sure, but also not It's funny. I wasn't watching when it originally started. I think I was watching Curly or something still. And I was reading Los Verdes Slack, and there was a lot of excitement. And I expected to turn that match on 20 minutes in, and for it to be like 2-0 Austin, and it was still 0-0. But I guess like the attack was promising.
Yeah, I went into halftime of this game feeling really good about this team, and we hadn't scored, but it was like we were the better team for 43 minutes. And then we go into halftime, come back out, and about the 65th minute, just all hell breaks loose and it all falls apart. But we'll talk about the second half here in a bit. Let's talk about that first half, because I do feel like we maybe learned some stuff in this first half. the attacking shape, I know we were all speculating of like, okay, if we're gonna play all of these guys on the field at the same time, it has to be a back five. It just absolutely has to be a back five. Uh, didn't happen in these 2 games by what I saw against KC and by what folks were saying about the Chicago game that were there. It was a back four, kind of pretty much like a straight up 4-2-3-1. So you have, yeah, 2 true center backs, and then Beeru at left back, John Gallagher at right back because Dessler is still not fit to play. Danny Pereira and Ilie Sanchez as 2 holding midfielders, and then that attacking line of 3 of Jaden Nelson on the left, Facu Torres in the middle as a 10, Joseph Rosales on the right wing, and then Mirto Zuni up top. And so I thought there was some really promising stuff happening in this first half. They were using space, they were spreading out the defense and playing in between lines, playing vertically in some really useful ways at times. Jaden Nelson was really aggressive, really confident, keeping the defenders on their heels. Some really well-timed switches to the backside. They'd be playing on one side and switch it over. They didn't really ever capitalize on that, but got into some moments where it's like that's kind of what you want to do instead of playing it very slowly to the other side is attract all the defenders to one side, switch it over, and then try to use the disorganization to attack. Um, they were trying to play soccer, and it was just like not all that complicated. It was just let smart, talented soccer players play soccer with each other, which was really encouraging to me.
And I think for me, like that's what I would like to see is a lineup throughout the season. Is just play a standard four at the back, have 3 midfielders, have some guys up top, and let them develop ways to trust each other and play off each other, and not overthink what you're doing. And I think that's going to be even more true because we all hoped that this team was going to have an offseason where they all got to bond and work together and all the best talented players all got to get time together. But like that is not going to happen. And now you just kind of have to like lean back and rely on soccer instincts if you're going to get anything out of this team in the first month of the season at least.
Yeah, like have some principles in line, but keep the shape, keep the kind of basic structure simple. And like you said, let guys use their instincts, let guys play off of each other. And we have quite a few players who are good at that kind of thing now, and even more who are going to be joining the team as time goes on and folks get healthy. But like both fullbacks were free to overlap when they were on the ball side. And so it's like if it's on the right and it plays up to the right wing, John Gallagher would often push up and join the attack. Same on the opposite side, and the other one would kind of stay back if they were on the backside, which is that's not that's basic stuff, right? Like that's what they teach youth soccer players to do. And then that front four would often they would just have freedom to kind of move around. So you would see Torres up on, like high up on the back line, but then he would drop in between lines in the buildup, and they would just hum balls into his feet and kill the press with one pass essentially because his touch is so good. Like he's just a really talented player that you can just rock balls at his feet and he'll receive them, turn, and play forward. Uzuni would drop in sometimes, and then several times you'd see a midfielder go wide and one of the wingers would pull central. And it seemed like it was just part of the plan for them to move around each other. And then some of the most dangerous moments came when, especially up that left side, they would play vertically to Nelson. He would lay it off to someone, and you'd see Biru overlap. Danny would push forward and join that triangle. Uzuni would come over. Like there was just a lot of and Torres would drift over to that side. So it was just guys playing instinctively off of one another and then filling the space that was left behind. And when you have a lot of guys who are good at that, you can create some good moments from it. And it didn't always work. It didn't lead to a goal, but there was some really promising stuff coming from that.
Well, do you want to move on to the second half now, or is there anything else you wanted to cover, sort of on the way Austin played the first half? Because like it right before the half, it turns, and then it gets real weird in the like mid part of the second half.
Yeah, a couple of notes on the defensive shape. It was a 4-4-2, which is kind of what we'll generally see. That we'll see that back five last year quite a bit, but so far we've seen that 4-4-2 mostly with Torres and Uzuni as those front two. Some really good counter pressing moments. That was another thing that I liked out of the first half of this game is we would lose the ball and instantly swarm the other team and try to win it back high. And so that's the thing that, like, I don't think we've always done. I think they've tried it sometimes, but they seemed much more intent on doing that in this game. And then Facundo Torres, he is a menace against the ball. Whenever they would lose the ball and he would be trying to chase it down, or we were pressing, or they'd play it backwards, he is a real SOB in those situations, in like a way that you love to have a guy in your team. And also to see a DP, like a guy whose main job is attacking, is to score goals or create goals. To see him working that hard in defensive moments is super encouraging. Uh, yeah, let's move on to the second half now. So Kansas City scored right before half. It was a little bit against the run of play. They started creating a few moments, but there was a give and go where Austin just wasn't sharp enough. They didn't track the runner very well, and they get an open cross in from wide to the right. And then Joveljic just scores a really nice goal. His movement is really clever. Heinzike doesn't track him well enough to put a body on him. Ball finds his head, and it's just a really deft little header to the backside, and Stuver didn't really have a chance. So, um, even with the goal, I still felt really good going into halftime. Come out at half, they try to play the starters about 60-65 or something like that. They make some changes. Sabovic is one of the changes that comes onto the midfield. It was a blurry feed, so these two reds that happen, it's hard to see exactly what went on, but I think we saw enough to know that they were warranted
That's
and
what I was going to
deserved.
say. Yeah, you don't have to see a lot to know, like, Savage, like, elbow a guy in the head for the heck of it? Like, that's what it looked like to me, and I'm sure it's not exactly what happened, but it didn't look great.
There was a loose ball, and he was, like, closing down his position to get near to that area. A Kansas City player gets close to him from behind. I couldn't tell if there was a kick or a pull or whatever, but the player did something that Sabovic didn't like, which that happens a lot, right? Show your frustration, but he swings back and throws an arm backwards with pretty great force. And I don't know if he actually got good contact on the guy, but if he had have gotten good contact, it like could have actually hurt him the way he threw his arm like that. So, I mean, it's not as egregious as the next one we're going to talk about, but still a stupid thing to do. And you'd hope he would be smarter and more responsible than that. But
In a
that's one red
preseason
card.
match, by the way. This is not even like a regular
Yeah,
season game where you can chalk. You shouldn't be able to just chalk it up to emotion.
right. Yeah. A few minutes later, Guilherme Biru is it from a set piece? Something weird's
It's like a
happening
dead
because Biru
ball.
is
I don't remember
very high.
exactly. Yeah.
And so he's tracking back on the wrong side from where he's playing. And I don't know what Kansas City player it was, but and it's hard to see the exact physics of what happens, but from what I could see on the blurry feed, it looks like he like horse collars him while also two-footing him from behind and pulls this player down. Just an an absolutely horrific challenge. Like the way that the broadcasters reacted to his challenge against Ricky Puig at the end
I
of
was just going to ask.
like the
Yeah.
last game that one
Yeah.
season. That's how they should have reacted to this one.
Yeah. That one was real bad. So then Austin's playing 9 on 11, down 1-0. So shockingly, I mean, not shockingly, sorry. Not at all shockingly. Like, you don't, at this point, you also can't learn anything, right? Like, hopefully Austin is never playing two men down. So you just hope that it gets to the end without it getting too out of control and SKC picks up a goal, but that is irrelevant for sure.
Yeah, just an absolute waste of time. Like it's a poor way to end preseason, and it's a waste of 25 valuable minutes in preseason that you could have used to do other stuff. Do you want to practice playing a man down? Sure. Is that the stuff you should be focusing on before you've even played a single competitive game? There's probably more
Maybe
important
not.
things
Yeah.
you should be doing. And so they make some more subs, and at that point, it's like, well, good luck, guys. Like, go out there and play down two men. Luckily, I guess Kansas City gets a red card not long after that for a second yellow for kicking the ball away. And so it makes it a little bit more even, but Austin had been working super hard in that interim to just not fall completely apart, playing a 4-3-1 formation, in the defense, and they're just dying at the end, so Kansas City finally kinda pulls them apart and gets a goal super late, and it ends 2-0, but yeah, just what a waste, man.
Yeah, and I had originally written for this next question, like, what do we make out of the preseason and what and should we worry? But I think the way that I mean, it's not great. We probably should worry, but like, let's maybe go to the remaining questions that you added in here. Like, what are the open ended things we get out of the preseason that maybe we're surprised by? I mean, I think this number one, like Rosales worked all the time at the wing and plays wing here, so like he seems like he's a winger.
For now, I guess, and what I would be remiss if I didn't start off this segment with, so I don't think we should be like, let's not overreact to this very small sample size with a lot of important players out, with Torres playing 2 halves of games, right? So there's a lot of caveats here. Let's not freak out yet. I think there's some reasons to have a raised eyebrow and kind of watch for some things as we enter the real season, but we shouldn't panic yet. But your question about Rosales, yeah, so Nico says he's pretty much only been playing as a winger. He is left-footed. He's almost exclusively played on the left side. In these last 2 games, he plays on the right wing, which is curious, right? So I think there's a few possibilities here. Um, like Jaden Nelson is a guy who plays on the left a lot, likes to cut in on his right. Torres is left-footed, often plays on the left, and likes to cut in there. For a certain kind of player, like that dribbly kind of dynamic player, I think um, that kind of dynamic works. A player like Rosales, I feel like it works less well. Just like it's not really his game to cut in like that. And so there were some moments where it felt a little bit awkward for him, where it would have been useful to be right-footed in certain moments, and he wasn't, and so just didn't feel very comfortable because of his positioning there. So that's a little bit weird. I think the other possibility, as opposed to Nico just thinking he's better on the right for whatever reason, is that he doesn't think he's actually going to play there. But this is the way you get the most players in the position that they're going to play for most of the season. And by putting him there, it's just like, okay, you're not really going to play here, but everyone else is going to get
Gets to play there,
comfortable.
yeah.
You're going to play in a few places anyway. So we'll put you here for now and see how it goes.
Well, do you think it's fair that the thing that worries me about Nico playing somebody that's ostensibly out of position is I feel like we wasted a lot of Osman Bukhari's season last season playing him in a place where he wasn't in a best place to succeed because Nico wanted to experiment through the first third of the year or whatever. And that's where it worries me. This one worries me more because we had that experience last year.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. If we see that in the first 2 or 3 games and Rosales is exclusively playing on the right wing and it's not looking great, then absolutely, I think it's a fair criticism. Um, I think another thing to think about is, like, when Owen comes back, does it I don't think it even makes sense to play Rosales as a winger, period, anymore. Like, I think Nelson, from what we know about him in the past and how he's looked in preseason, I think he's a nailed-on starter. Torres is a nailed-on starter. If you think of where Owen can play, if it's that 4-2-3-1 shape, I think it has to be in that line of 3 attacking midfielders, like the 2 wingers and the 10 there. Um, I think it doesn't bode well if you're putting him as one of those deeper spots and asking him to be more of a holding midfielder ball winner. I think he can do it. I don't think it sets us up very well defensively. So that could be interesting if that's where he plays. So, but if my suspicion is correct that he's going to play in that line of 3, that bumps Rosales out anyway. Does he go back to left back then? Or like, I don't know. That's one of my big question marks here.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. One hopes that this is just like a preseason thing. So Owen Wolf is your number 10. Is that what I'm hearing when he gets back? Is that your
I
answer?
don't know. That's a question as well, because Torres was playing as like a pretty traditional 10 where he was playing centrally, had freedom to move to both sides. We saw him way out wide right. We saw him way out wide left. We saw him joining the front attacking line. That's kind of what modern tens do, right? He wasn't beholden to a single side. Is that where he's going to play once Owen is available? I don't know. Like, I don't know what dynamic is best. I think maybe it doesn't matter as much given how much fluidity there was with those guys, that regardless of where you start one or the other, that they're both going to end up in different positions pretty regularly. Um, so yeah, I'm not super concerned about which one does which first. I think they both bring slightly different things to it, and it's just like, what's the best combination for this team? But I liked part of what I saw from Faku in that role, just talking about being able to receive a ball between lines and tight spaces. Like he does that really well. I think Owen can do that well too. So that'll be something interesting to watch.
And you don't so then you're not buying into the whole national pundit like Facu Torres can't create chances because he's in the bottom whatever of XG created or whatever those stats are. Like, so can you see him there?
I still think it's a valid concern, but I'm just thinking like of the players we have, who's best suited to play that role? I think either of them could be
That's a different question. That's true.
the best possible. Are they good enough in that role to make us a real playoff contender? I don't know. We'll see. Do we think this Kansas City game is our starting lineup for Minnesota? Because if you look at kind of the minutes patterns between these two games, the guys who played extensive minutes against Kansas City did not play extensive minutes against Chicago. So reading the tea leaves, it seems that is the 11 for the opening day game, which means at least for now, Joseph Rosales might be our right winger.
Yeah, I do think because of the different things that are going on with injuries, this is probably our best. It's probably our starting 11. I think the question maybe more is like, will they line up in this exact same place? Like these are probably I think these are the 11 players. Are those the 11 positions? Maybe, maybe not.
Yeah, I think that's a complete possibility too, because I think you could still shift to a back five look with Biru is like that flex center back, Rosales overlapping on the left, and like Nelson was playing quote unquote wing, but he was moving inside, kind of playing in that half space pretty regularly. So there was room for Biru to overlap there. If we went to a back five with Rosales as like an overlapping wing back, it doesn't break that part of it. So I think there's still some possibility to see something different for that first game. But I think these are the 11 players that it's going to be. I think the only things we could see different is like, will Biru be punished and they maybe start Robert Taylor and move Rosales back to left back? Like Brad Stuver said in the post game, a comment about like individual responsibility and that we need guys to like essentially be more responsible in some of these moments in reference to these red cards. These are guys, Biru especially, but Biru and Sabovic, guys, you're going to need to lean on in a season that is any good at all for Austin FC. And so it's not a great sign to see them already, before we even played a game, doing things that make you think you can't rely on these guys.
Yeah, and I guess then does that become does it make sense to set him on the bench for the first match, knowing it's one match, just to send that message? That also seems like a possibility.
Yeah, I mean, this is all stuff that like we're not privy to. We don't know what's going on in that locker room. We don't know what conversations are being had, but it's a possibility. We haven't mentioned Dessler too much, but he was not suited out for this game. In social media photos, he's seen training off to the side with Vasquez, meaning it doesn't seem like he's going to play a role in this game. Owen was not dressed for this game, so I think you could expect neither of them to be available for the home opener, meaning John Gallagher is almost certainly playing right back, and then that front attacking group is probably going to be what we saw.
Yeah, I think you're right. Well, let's take a break, cover some more news, or cover the news, the non-preseason news, and then eventually we'll get into
we're going to do
a game.
Another international roster slot trade, jersey rankings, and a Minnesota preview along with some other things, and then we'll get on to our segment with Scott doing our over-under predictions. Hang tight. We'll be right back.
No one is around.
Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by our friends at FEF Law.
FEF is a different kind of personal injury law firm dedicated to community, transparency, and client education. And they have their own podcast called Summary Judgment that you can check out wherever you get your podcasts.
You can go to FEF.law to find out what makes FEF a different kind of injury law firm and why understanding your legal options can dramatically change the outcome of a case. Once again, that's FEF.law. Amplify Credit Union is a member-owned financial cooperative that served the needs of Central Texans for over 5 decades. As a credit union, Amplify has no shareholders or parent companies. That means more of your money stays in the community.
Amplify has been the home of fee-free banking since 2022. Their free checking accounts come with zero overdraft fees or minimum balance. That means Amplify's fee-free checking accounts help you get more mileage from your everyday spending.
Amplify membership is open to any Texas resident. Learn to trust your banking in an Amplify Credit Union. To learn more, go to www.goamplify.com/moontower-soccer. All right, we are back. We are going to give our rankings for our favorite and least favorite MLS jerseys of the season. We'll preview the Minnesota United match, which is the first game of the 2026 season. But first, let's start with another international roster slot trade, Jeremiah.
Yeah, so we got this news last week that Austin had made a trade for GAM. We get the news this week that Austin has made a trade with LA Galaxy to give up an international roster slot in exchange for $240,000 in 2026 GAM. Same deal as last week's. This one, that the slot will return to Austin at the opening of the secondary transfer window, so July 13th. So Austin has no international slots available. I think it's not surprising. I don't think we expected anybody to be coming in. So good on Roto for getting another pile of Garber bucks for a spot that Austin was not going to use.
So, like, what, as far as the roster build, like, what does this let us know for sure? And then what do we think it means for this summer transfer window?
Well, for sure, Austin has 0 international slots, 0 senior roster slots available. So I think we can assume that Alistue is not going to be grabbing spot on the first team roster, which is not that surprising because there's like ways that they can, if they need to have him on the roster, they can make him available for up to 4 matches or something.
I think this is the thing that I'm not sure if he needs if we need the international roster spot to use an international player in that facility.
That's a good question.
I don't know which way it falls, but in any case, if he is used at all, or if able to be used at all, it would be in a very limited way, which I think is probably like where he sits on the pecking order anyway.
Yeah, especially in the first half of the year. Things have gone wrong if in the first half of the year we need to call him up for a slot. And I think it's great that makes me believe that there's maybe something brewing in the summer if Austin's only made these trades for a half a season and retains the right to get them back or sell them again when it comes to the next window.
Yeah, you talk about things going wrong. Like, I was having a conversation with somebody about this. Like, I know a lot of the folks who follow Austin FC2 really closely really like Jorge Alistue, really like a lot of these players and want to see them get pushed up into the team. But as far as like the roster mechanics, I don't think it's worth not banking this $240K to give an international roster slot to a guy who, unless it's a real emergency, is probably going to play like double-digit minutes, if that, right?
Right.
And so, like, I can't imagine a scenario, barring absolute disaster, where Irvin Torres couldn't like be the thumb in the hole in the dam, right? Like, they aren't the same player, but they're not so different that it's like, okay, we need somebody who plays midfield to go out there. I think Irvin Torres fixes a lot of that by having the homegrown contract. And so, I would love to see Jorge Alistue succeed. I don't think it's worth using this spot on him. So I'm glad to have the GAM.
Yeah, same. I agree. And this is another one where maybe they needed the GAM anyhow, just to make the whole roster.
Yeah, true.
Work.
We don't know where they sit with compliance yet. Also, just like looking forward to the summer window, like, I don't think this necessarily means there's plans for another player in the summer, but at the very least, it's Roto keeping his options open, right? Like,
Yeah.
if we get to the summer and he's making moves and he thinks we need another one, we can keep it. If he doesn't, sell that baby again. Let's
Right,
get more
right.
GAM out of it.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. And well, when we look at the summer, there may be another international slot open anyhow that currently is occupied by a certain Albanian. So you might not even need it back then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Jersey rankings, Landon. I feel like you are a Jersey guy, and I'm loving seeing this. So is this little picture that you posted? Is this like your overall rankings?
It is. The funny thing is, I'm not really a Jersey guy, but I still have very strong opinions about
Okay,
them.
gotcha.
It's one of the things that like don't really think I should talk about in public because I sound like a jerk about it. But I do find it fascinating
Okay.
because so there is somebody posted this on like the MLS Reddit,
Yeah.
and it was a ranking website where it's like a repeating series of matchups where you might see the same. It was like this jersey versus this jersey, you pick your favorite, and you might see the same one over and over, but over time it kind of like gives you a table as like, here were your favorite ones, here's your least favorite ones, and ranks them 1 through 30, which I think is a really interesting way to do it. And so I have a list of my 1 through 30 here. I think there's probably like the middle 20 are, I could do some shuffling around and like probably if I were doing it by hand would maybe make some different decisions. But I think my top 5 are the 5 I would pick. And the thing I found interesting was there's 3 in here specifically that I have in my top 5, but so many other people that I saw posting these would have like one of them in the top 5 and one of them in the bottom 5, which I found fascinating. And these are Charlotte, Seattle, and Chicago. Like, looking at these, do you understand why I'm confused about why people love some of them and why people hate some of them?
No, and they're very different, which I think it's interesting that it would work out that way. And this is, if this show was on YouTube, this would make a lot more sense for the people watching along rather than me looking at your chart. So like we'll link to this site too.
I'll put this ranker, ranker link into the show notes.
And then you could just skip the individual rankings and go straight to the community ranking like order, which is one of the things that I did eventually. But yeah, they're very different. I was just reading another kit website. I don't remember which one it was, where they had like given a description to everyone. I think you're loving this Charlotte one is interesting because it feels, I don't know, this one doesn't seem that creative to me, and that is your number 1 overall kit.
Here's the thing: I don't care that much about creative. I want it to like look good.
Okay.
This is so. To backtrack a little, Charlotte is my number 1, Seattle is my number 2, and then Chicago is my number 5. These are pretty simple jerseys.
Yes.
They're like mostly a single color with what I think is like kind of classy trim. Charlotte has like a nice little like crown motif along the cuffs and the collar. Chicago has this interesting like chest band that's like not just a rectangle, but has like this flare to it. And then Seattle I think just have a cool colorway like that. They used to have that ugly Xbox green.
Oh,
They've shifted to this new green and blue colorway that I really, really like. I think they could make anything in that colorway, and I would think it was cool. But here's my thing: I don't care about creative. I will. I've heard so many people say, "Well, at least they tried something about a jersey," and I'm like, no. You don't get credit for trying. Trying is for your first semester at art school, right? Like that's where you try stuff. Once you're like good at it, just do it good. And that's when stuff like some of these jerseys, man, Houston is ranked dead last. This is not my Copa Tejas bias coming in here. I hate that jersey so much.
Yeah, that one's really bad. That was going to be my last one too. And I was afraid against it. It was just Houston. So what I'm hearing from you and what I see in a lot of the overall rankings is this year there's a lot of jerseys that have some message in the texture of it, and they're mostly executed poorly. Because if I'm looking at like Philadelphia's, New York's, Nashville's, Houston's, San Diego's, they're all trying something like in the jersey, and none of it works.
Yeah, which is you talked about this community ranking. So this ranker website where you can do it on your own, they've been collecting the data and made a ranking of just like everybody's rankings. and the Philadelphia one is number 7. I think this jersey is an atrocity. It's terrible. And I think I was trying to figure out like why I hate it so much. And it's whenever they do like pictures in the sublimation on the jersey. I know that all of these jerseys are made from synthetic materials and that none of these colors are like woven in a way that is real, like you would with like a sweater or something. Like you had to change yarn out to make the color different. Like I know that's not how these are made. I kind of want to believe that's how they're made, and I want them to look like that's how they're made. And I think I've figured out that's one thing I like or dislike about a jersey. The Philadelphia one just straight up like has pictures printed on it. And I think it looks terrible. I appreciate like the sentiment they're going for with the 1776 thing, but I think it looks terrible.
Yeah, I agree with you on that one too. I hated that one. And I think of
a lot of people disagree with us apparently.
Of the ones that have that kind of that thing going, I think LAFC did it well. I think LAFC does a lot of things well. That was pretty high. I really love this Atlanta.
Are there any that I have really high that you hate?
No, I love the Atlanta United one that you have third. I guess you have Columbus 7, and I feel like maybe you like it because it's a thing that they do well over and over again. But like I find it terribly boring, and I would only put it above the middle of the pack if I like kept going and everybody else was so bad. There was no choice but to put them there.
This is the thing that I have a hard time putting my finger on is I have Columbus ranked 7, but Nashville ranked 23.
And it's
They're
the same.
Not that different.
Yeah, it's the same jersey other than like, well, and I guess you're probably still in Nashville mailing list for tickets. And there was like so much selling of how this is like a new and bold, the reverb kits, like changing everything. And I'm like, no, that's basically the Nashville or Columbus jersey. Like, don't overhype it, which is one of the reasons that I didn't love it.
I do like the Columbus one. I feel like it's kind of classic. It's just like, this is our brand. We're leaning into it.
Yeah, I'm not as much of a fan of that one.
Anyway, I had Austin's 4th. These rankings, like these global rankings, had Austin's 9th. So it seems like overall pretty well received by most people. Just kind of digging through that Reddit thread, it kind of seemed that way. Some people don't like it, but I think the same people who don't like that might be the people who really like the Philadelphia one. So it's just like vastly different tastes in these things, but overall it seems like pretty well received. I quite like it. My hesitation on the jersey is how it goes with like the shorts. I feel like there's not great continuity between the jersey and the shorts with the striping and how all that works, but the jersey alone I think looks really nice.
Well, and I would say like from our friends that don't love it, a lot of them imagine themselves buying that jersey and like spilling barbecue sauce on it and what that's going to look like. And that's not something you do on a kit ranking website. You're not like, if I was eating a hot dog and mustard ended up on this jersey, what would it look like, right? Nobody's thinking about that. But
yeah, then you get the Red Bull kit or whatever.
Yeah, then you get, what's the thing that will hide the most stains?
Yeah. Any other thoughts on the kits here?
No, let's go ahead and move on from that.
We got the official list of squad numbers. Anything interesting from this one?
Well, I think actually the things that I thought was interesting about it, we're going to talk about with Scott and the over-under. So I think maybe unless there's a particular point you wanted to hit, we can move on from that and encourage people to stick around and listen to that.
I think the main thing we've like read into this in the past is like current players changing numbers. And it seems like we didn't really get a ton of that. It was mostly just the new guys who were picking their numbers, right?
Right.
Should we get into our preview?
Well, yeah, let's do that. And I think setting that up, let's talk about sort of what's going on all week. Gosh, and honestly, until I was writing the outline, I was kind of forgot that this is game week. So we could talk about that. But as with every game week, the club has a lot going on. So some of it is already happened. I saw there was like a giant line for signatures and things at the when was that? It was on Sunday, right? At the Domain. There was
with Owen and Joseph Rosales.
Yeah, signing autographs. So that was super cool. Facundo Torres is hanging out at the Verde store on Wednesday. There's a Yeti kickoff party on Thursday. We get Verde Fest from La Murga on Friday, and then we actually get the match on Saturday. And one of the things, I can't remember if we talked about this or not last week, but one of the things that I've heard the club's committed to is using Live Oak Park more. I think maybe 3 or 4 games a year is all they've done it in the past, and I think we'd expect to see a lot more use of that park in events and activations and stuff. There's going to be a pre-match party on Saturday before the match there from 4:30 to 6:45.
I think with like the calendar changing, it will make sense for them to use it more as well with just like fewer super hot weather games.
Yeah, and I think that's where they still have. Sorry, that they don't always have places somewhere mysteriously has a reasonably priced beer. But if I remember right, like the concessions and stuff at Live Oak Park are much more fan friendly than they are inside the stadium.
Yeah, there's often food trucks. If they do like a big thing, there might be food trucks, and then one of the sponsors will be giving cheaper beer than you could find in the stadium.
Yep. So that will all lead up to the March before the match on Saturday, lead up to a TIFO on Saturday, and will lead up to this Minnesota United match at home. So let's preview this game.
Yeah, we've talked about a little bit about what we expect to see from Austin. Let's talk about Minnesota. How did they finish last year, and kind of where are they sitting now, Jeremiah?
Yeah, and it's super interesting because like both last year and in the offseason, there's a lot of Austin adjacent things going on. So Minnesota finishes 4th in the West last year, loses the conference semifinals, loses in the U.S. Open Cup semifinal to Austin. So pretty good year. I think people expect them to be good again this year. If you look at players in, the biggest name is James Rodriguez, which was at least through rumors connected with Austin. Like with a new manager, Cameron Knowles. And you wrote.
I want to talk about James for a second.
Yeah, let's do that.
How did this make you feel? Like, as a few weeks ago, we were like fairly certain that there was at least conversations happening, right?
Yeah.
We found out that's not true. We signed Torres pretty immediately after that. And then you see him sign for another team. Like, when you saw that news, how did that make you feel?
Maybe this, as a human who's been burned by Austin signing attacking players on the wrong side of 30 so many times, I'm very happy. I mean, at no point in like a fan of world soccer, if you were to like line up Facundo Torres and James Rodriguez, would you say, I want Facundo Torres as the guy in my squad? But I'm happy to have Facundo Torres.
If you line him up 34 times,
yeah, I'm happy.
You might take Facu in that.
Yeah,
in that
I'm
matchup,
going to take Facu in that comparison, and I assume the numbers are way different, between the two. But it's just interesting that would come back around, because some of what we read said, oh well, everybody at MLS wants him, and he's not going to end up there. And that he pretty quickly after that ends up in Minnesota.
And from what I remember, I think Minnesota had his discovery rights, and so anybody who wanted him would have had to pay Minnesota for it. So they had kind of dibs on that. And then maybe so this is a half-season deal. He's playing up until the World Cup, and then nothing's guaranteed after that. So there might not have, other teams maybe weren't in a place where they felt comfortable doing that either. Like, if you're going to come, we want you to stick around for a slightly longer term, which is, I was kind of expecting to maybe want a longer contract, but I guess this gives him the flexibility to stay if he wants and dip if he doesn't. But I think some of those maybe fed into why certain teams may or may not have been interested.
Yeah. And in
any case, he's almost certainly not going to play a big role in this game.
I would be shocked.
He has not appeared in preseasons for them yet. So if he's there, I would guess it might be like a small cameo late on. But if I were betting on it, I would guess he does not dress for this one at all.
Yeah, well, and how about these new Minnesota coaches? So new manager Cameron Knowles, new assistant, friend of the show, but somebody knowing Austin, Josh Wolf, coming back to town, although he probably still has a house in town, or maybe he still has a house in town. I have no idea.
I don't know. Yeah, it's an interesting one. So Cam Knowles was, I think, the second team manager, and then an assistant under Ramsey, their coach, who left for England, and then they promoted him to this first team job. Like a week or two after that, Minnesota compensated Houston for the services of Josh Wolf. So they essentially traded for Josh Wolf to come in and be an assistant. I I think you could read that a couple of ways, and one of the ways that they were talking about in soccer wise is like, we don't have faith in Cam Knowles, and we don't really have faith in this team, so we're gonna have like a sacrificial lamb be the coach for now. And then whenever this season is inevitably bad and we fire you, we have Josh
Yeah.
Wolf, who has already had a head coach job in the wings to just step into the job.
That is really cynical.
So if that's the case, it might not feel great to be Cameron Knowles right now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this feels very cynical, but maybe possible. But that's the same line of reasoning that led people to believe that Rodolfo Borrell took the sporting director job to hire himself as the coach, which is ultimately what he really always wanted. So none of us really actually know what's going on.
Yeah, that one was maybe a bit further of a stretch, but
Yeah.
they lost some pretty significant players. So Dane St. Clair left on a free when they decided not to give him an extension earlier on. And then as his contract was expiring, he said, actually, I'm going to take less money to go play with Messi in Miami. And that's what he did. And so they also lost Robin Lod. I think he was a free agent, getting a little bit older, but still a really key part of their team for the last several seasons. He's in Chicago now, I believe. Hassani Dotson, who had been injured for a lot of the last year, he went to Seattle. And so he played a pretty big role in previous seasons in their midfield. And then a guy named Joseph Rosales, who you might have
You
heard
may
of,
know. Yeah.
left and came to a town called Austin. They've got some replacements here. So Drake Callender, they brought him in to be the goalkeeper replacement. Probably not as good as Dane St. Clair, even at his best, but has had some really good MLS seasons. Was injured for a lot of the last year as well, but a really solid backup. Thomas Chankalai, they got for really cheap, who's an underperforming player in New England. So they're kind of taking a shot on him. But it feels like they maybe didn't fully replace all the parts that they lost last season.
Yeah, it feels like one would think the narrative would be them building off sort of like a really solid year last year and then moving on from the Babella Reynoso timeline and saga, but it doesn't feel like they've continued to advance. I don't think, really know how they're going to play. So as much as Austin's pretty up in the air, which is what we've seen from Austin's preseason, it feels like Minnesota United and their ultimate fate is pretty up in the air too. And that's that is the story of the big fat middle of the Western Conference, which feels like something we talked about in the past, that it will continue to be the case now going forward. It's like maybe the bottom's not as bad as the East, but the top's not as good. And there's just a bunch of teams. They're kind of in a log jam. It's going to be whatever happens on whatever night and who makes moves in the summer and who stays healthy. And it feels like Minnesota and Austin are both part of that same group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think stylistically it will be interesting to see what Minnesota does this year. They built a really strong season last year on kind of playing murder ball and just playing really defensively and then scoring and counterattacks and set pieces. The new coach, from what I've heard, it seems like he's going to try to do something a little bit differently. Do they have the pieces to do that? And then how do you fit James Rodriguez into that? That's going to be the big question because they have a lot of good players. But are they the kind of players who can win playing in a less cynical way than they did last year? One of their stars, Joaquin Pereira, I think he's a really good player. And then they have some space to bring in some more DPs as well. But as far as this game, this coming weekend, I mean, Joaquin Pereira is going to be good. There's a lot of other guys who are good, but how are they going to play? Do these guys fit? Like, I think that's about as much as we can ask, but not really have any answers for it right now.
Yeah, I don't think we do. I don't think we will. But just at the end of the day, it's going to be super good to be in a stadium full of people and all of our friends with what should be really good weather and just celebrate the beginning of another Austin FC season, our 6th, which is kind of insane.
Yeah, it truly is. Yeah, can't wait to get in there. Can't wait for like a little bit of a chill in the air. I always love these cold first games, and looks like it's not going to be super cold, but nice and chilly. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing all of our friends back at Q2. Anything else we need to cover here, Jeremiah?
No, let's go ahead and take another break, and then we'll get into the over-under, which is one of our favorite and most terrifying things we do every year.
All right, hang tight. We're going to be right back with Scott Speck to do our over-under prediction game.
Moon Tower Soccer is brought to you by Sage Wilson Realty. The Sage Wilson team is made up of Austin experts who are client-focused and have over 30 years of combined real estate experience.
If you or someone you know are in need of Sage real estate advice in Austin, talk to our friends at Sage Wilson Realty. Be sure to check them out online at sagewilson.com.
Moon Tower Soccer is also brought to you by McGuire Consulting, helping clients in the public affairs space, from lobbying at the local, statewide, and federal levels to digital and communications campaigns across the country.
McGuire Consulting has offices in 10 MLS cities and is proud to support Austin FC's start to the 2026 season. Contact our friends at McGuire Consulting at mwcllc.com for more information. All right, we are back. So happy to be joined by Scott Speck, the Moon Tower Soccer Games Master. We're going to do our over-under prediction game, which is started by friend of the show, Marcelo Teson, taken over by Scott whenever Marcelo left town. But we kind of use this as part of our season preview, and it ends up being a really fun and interesting way to preview the season by making very specific predictions on over-under lines. So, I'm maybe rambling too much here, but Scott, thanks so much for being here. What do you have in store for us this year?
I think I have a lot of fun prop setup. Again, kind of like what you talked about. The goal is that the props kind of try to inform a preview in terms of storylines or things of how we think the team is going to go. So there'll be team, individual player ones. Everything is going to be over under, obviously, and unless stated otherwise, it's going to be solely devoted to MLS matches.
All right. Well, I think we can jump in. Any other rules or tips we should be reminded of?
I think the biggest tip would just be like think about the history. Was probably like my overall tip.
I don't even know what that means.
That's why it's a great tip. So we started this with this one last year, and again we're going to do it again. It's Austin FC hat tricks 0.5. There is still only one hat trick in the club's history. It was in 2022 with Musa Jite.
The Moose.
We did not have a player in MLS score 2 goals in a game last year. I thought about making it just braces, but that felt kind of rude. So I decided to stick with hat tricks 0.5, and I'm keeping the same format as last year. So Landon, you're up first.
I'll say under on this one.
Okay, and Jeremiah?
I'll go over. I'm in the optimistic hope springs eternal part of the season where we get our
Are you going to call
second one?
Sorry, are you going to call your
No, somebody.
No, you're not going to call
anybody.
Okay, Landon had a lot of confidence in Mirto Azuni.
What is that? What I said? I don't remember anything from last time.
You said over, and you said I'm going to call Mirto Azuni. I offered a point if you hadn't been right. Okay, next up is Austin FC away wins, which is again making a comeback from last year. As a reminder, last year there were 6. The year before that there were 4. In 2023 there were 3, and in 2022 there were 8.
Jeremiah, you're up.
Wait, I missed the line. What's the line?
Oh, 4.5.
Oh, okay. There you go. That
there's 16 others, Jeremiah.
Well, I was trying to remember because I was trying to remember how many bonus games we had in the Eastern Conference. Like it is, a proxy for possible away wins.
We do get DC at home, second game of the season, so maybe not the best time for us, but that could be a bonus game. I'll take the over. I'll take the optimistic point on this one.
Okay, love that. Yeah, because the only other Eastern road game that immediately comes to mind is Charlotte in March. Up next, we have combined goals by Owens. That's going to be Wolf and Owen goal together.
Owen goal?
Yeah, Owen goal. The line is 8.5.
Oh, that's a good line.
And keep in mind that Owen last year scored 7. And shout out to Brad Tillery for this line.
And it may be that we might be over-indexing the own goals in our mind because of the playoffs. So I don't know what the actual number was, but I'm going to take the over here, mainly out of confidence in Owen Wolf.
Yeah, that was kind of the goal of this line, was kind of the do you still believe in Owen? And do you think that there's more goal scoring there, or do you think that there's going to be more of a shift to being more of a midfield player?
Yeah, you can make an argument that just the role he plays will maybe not lend itself as much to it.
But that would count on other people around him staying healthy and scoring goals. So I'm going to go with the over 2. I think there's further Owen development that's going to lead to that one coming through.
Okay. I already see 2 disagreements, so we're good on that. The next one, talking about Owen a little bit more, is number of teams Owen Wolf is on this season, 1.5.
Which could also play a role in that last one, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't like this one. I'm going to go under. I'm going with 1. My heart says 1. I don't know what my head says, but that's what we're going with here.
Yeah. Okay, Landon?
I'll take the under also. Just for as long as that new contract was, it made it feel like Burrell's not in a rush to sell him.
That's kind of my reading the tea leaves of it too. Seem like of wanting to keep him.
But if he scores, if he gets the over on the line before with the goals and scores a few goals, gets a few assists in the first few months, maybe those higher offers start coming in and Burrell can't say no. So
yeah, I mean, it only takes one team to just fall in love with a player and overspend. That's really all it takes. So, next up is number of penalties taken by Mirto Ozuni. This is just taken.
I feel like you told me you were going to ask this one. Yeah.
I did. I give you a warning on this one.
That's a great one.
So my idea behind this one is also just the idea of we brought in a lot of other guys. Like Torres is here, Jane Nelson's here, and also with Owen's emergence, is Ozuni still the guy who's going to take penalties? Yeah. And that's why I made it 1.5, because 1 can randomly happen, but more than 1 feels like a coach's choice.
And Torres was the pin taker for a lot of his time in Orlando on a good team with some other guys who could have done it. So he's a guy who likes them. If you watch the pins that he's taken, takes them very confidently as well. So, but there's going to be maybe a game where he's not there, something else is going on, whatever. So, 1.5. I'm going to take the under. This is more out of hope. We'll state the feeling that we're giving our answer with after each line.
Wait, and that also means that you don't have the same hope that he's going to become that goal scoring machine that we thought he might be, and therefore, if he did, then he would do more. So I'm going to go with the over because of him seeing more than everybody and maybe scoring goals.
Okay, makes sense. And the next one up, which is kind of a continuing of this conversation that friend of the program, Seth Rao, gave me, is number of Austin FC players who score more goals than Ozuni. And keep in mind that Ozuni finished second in MLS goals last year with 6. Owen had 7. Brandon Vasquez had 5. And also with this, and kind of what we mentioned with the previous Owen Wolf line, is Ozuni here the whole season?
Yeah. So what? Wait, excuse me. What's the line again?
2.5.
2.5 players that score more goals than Mirto Ozuni.
Yes, and this is Jeremiah's.
I am gonna go over on that one. It seems safer just because there's the possibility he's not here all year. You got Torres, you got Owen. Gonna get Brandon Vasquez back at some point. I guess those are the 3 that might score more than him, but I'm gonna go over.
I think Vasquez pushes me to the over as well. If we're taking the optimistic line here, that BV is going to come back in this late spring and start killing it. And even if we do or don't sell him, that we're going to have other players doing well enough to surpass him.
Scott, how are you?
Okay, I love it.
Pick. What's your Mr. Ozuni feeling for this year? You've asked us questions about him. Are you optimistic? Are you jaded? Do you think we've seen all we're going to see?
I think my eyes have seen too much to have confidence in him. As much as I hope he does turn it around, it just, when you watch a player for an entire season, I think you can get a pretty good idea of who that person is. And he'd have to make a pretty significant improvement to be kind of what he was advertised as. And also, just as importantly, it would take that much improvement for him to be as good on the field as he kind of thinks of himself as, because he wants to be the guy. But part of wanting to be the guy is you also have to be the guy.
I think that probably plays into the negative mental loop as well, where he believes he's the guy, and that hurts him even more when he's not the guy.
Yeah, you can see the you can see the like bad like negative reinforcement happening
Yeah.
after a miss or after something like that. So yeah,
I was over the offseason, I've kind of been hoping that he would like come back, have preseason with the team, get over the yips, get his family in town, and be really settled. But then he's injured, doesn't play for most of preseason. Then we have the whole Trabzonspor transfer thing that seemed very credible, and that seemed like maybe Mirto was on board with it to leave. That takes me out of that mindset a little bit of like, oh, he's settled, he's here, he's ready for the season, ready to be prepared to get started with everybody else, and then all that happened was like, oh, okay, well maybe that's not true.
so I had heard that he didn't want to move there because that wasn't a place he wanted to live, which I thought was kind of an interesting thing based on like where that rumor seemed to come from. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, so I'm going to jump ahead on my list. Brandon Vasquez, by all indications, they seem to be targeting April 4th against Miami as his like return date, which means that there's 29 games remaining. So I put Brandon Vasquez appearances at 23 and a half. And this is just appearances, not starts, just him appearing.
So that is the games from Miami onward.
Yeah, there's 20 that including that game. There's 29 MLS matches left.
Oof, is this mine?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll take that over, because when he was healthy here, even in games where he wasn't scoring, where he was missing goals, he was still really important to anything good that we did pretty much. And so I think if Brandon Vasquez is healthy, you have him on the field.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that the hold up play he provided was such a stark difference between what other strikers were able to do for Austin, even dating back to like previous years. Just the importance of like getting out, counterattacking. Jeremiah, it's to you.
I'm also going to go with the over because I think the only way the under hits is if there's a setback in his training. He doesn't get back by then. He misses the whole month of April, or like he's slow and they decide to shut him down for a little bit until the World Cup break or whatever, because he does seem like a guy that's going to be at least involved in every game when he's an option.
Yeah, if you're gonna put someone on at the end, even if he's not starting, it's like, okay, we've got him or CJ Fodre. I know who I'm picking.
Okay, great. Next one, Brad Stuver clean sheets. Last year he set his career high with 9. Previously his career had been 8. So I set the line at 7.5.
And this one's to me, right?
Correct.
I'm going to go over. I don't see any. What did I read? I was reading the Backheel preview today about Austin. They talked about Austin being pragmatic, and I don't see the way that they're going to play any way other than that. So I just think by that nature, Austin's going to play in a bunch of low-scoring games, and so I'm going to have faith in Brad and say that he's going to go over.
I'm going to take the under here, and this is probably a little bit of recency bias with that Sporting Kansas City game the other day. Not necessarily because anything Brad did or anything that the defense did, really, but just more of how they were playing in that first half. They were playing a bit more aggressively, counter-pressing when they lost the ball, which could leave you open to some dangerous counterattacks at some point. So I'm hoping Brad still has a good season. I don't think fewer clean sheets necessarily means he's not having a good season, but I could see maybe some tactical shifts leading to more goals being let in.
Yeah, agreed. Matthew Doyle has been harping on and on for months about Stewart's like decline in the second half of the season. I don't understand where that
This is another
comes from.
case of Matt Doyle only looking at stats and not watching games. And I mean, I'm not a goalkeeping expert, but I don't think Brad Stuver was much worse in the back half of the year than he was in the first half. And I thought maybe it was one of his best seasons ever.
Yeah, I mean he finished second in saves on the year. So I believe he's the only MLS keeper to lead the league in saves 3 different seasons.
Yeah.
So doing it in 4 seasons would be really incredible.
Which that alone is like not really even a good stat. But
yeah,
I think if you look at kind of the distribution of that, he was facing more shots later in the season, which could lead to, okay, his numbers start looking worse. And when Matt Doyle's only looking at those numbers, he thinks, oh, Brad Stuver was worse. Like, he wasn't. The team was maybe worse around him.
Yeah, because I think there's only 1 clean sheet like after July is probably exactly what Doyle's looking at. like 100%. Like you look at
I'm
that, you can see that in the score lines, and you're just like, oh, that's what you saw.
there's probably like some of that like goals allowed minus expected, like post shot expected goals or whatever that stat is, that like is pretty useful, and maybe there's some stuff in there that made him look worse. But for a guy who watched all of those games twice, I thought he was all right.
Yeah. I would have more insight on PSXG, but RIP FB ref.
We'll never know again.
We'll never know again. Okay, next up, and this is for all competitions. Number of starts by Damian Loss, who's now our backup. And so I wanted to set the line at 3.5. So this would include all of MLS, US Open Cup, and Leagues Cup.
So all competitions.
All competitions.
Oh, okay. And who's first?
I believe this is yours.
Okay. I'll take that's a good line. Because you can expect some Open Cup ones probably.
And in the past, Austin has used backup keepers in Leagues Cup.
Yeah. I'll take the over. I hope I'm wrong, or that if I'm right, it's not because Brad Stuver got injured.
Well, I was going to, if I had to guess, going to guess 4. So I also agree that was a good line. So I'll go ahead and stick with the over, hoping for another US Open Cup run.
And also, if it's the over, I hope it's because Damian Loss kills it in those cup competitions and they feel good throwing him back out there, as opposed to what happened with Steph Cleveland in the Open Cup and in Leagues Cup, right? Didn't they play him in one of the Leagues Cup game and he didn't do great, and then they played Stuver in the next one?
Yeah, that I guess it was 2 seasons ago. But yeah, no, that definitely happened. It's kind of interesting because like Loss has been just a like permanent starter for so long, even at like Louisville. And so him like going from starter to backup, I think is going to be kind of like an interesting transition in his career.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, next up I have Facundo Torres goals and assists. The last season he had in MLS, he had 20. That was in 2024. I think at Palmeiras he had 10, but I don't have the minutes off the top of my head. I set the line at 14.5 goals and assists, and this is to Jeremiah.
I don't have any real insights here, but I was so optimistic for every goal and assist total last year. And, it's like a number set of 1, and therefore is predictive of all future outcomes. So I'm going to go under here.
I'm taking the over. I'm being optimistic. I like the kid.
Okay, and I also appreciate you guys picking different things, just in general.
Yeah, there's like a pretty large possible delta at this point, it seems like.
Yeah, and that was kind of like the thing behind like my tip is like thinking through history. Like I think a lot of it is just like thinking through having Nico as coach and what that means. And I think like looking back at last year's lines, I think that was the thing that all of us were discounting. Just like in general, like his style of play and like his history of the Dallas teams and what they did. Like,
and also just saying like Mirto Ozuni's going to score 1 million goals. Brandon Vasquez is going to score 1 million goals.
Well, for Ozuni, I mean,
the optimism was great.
There was a history that would lead you to believe that was going to happen from recent years, and it just did not. And now we all obviously believe that it won't.
Or conversely, MLS is better than La Liga.
Right. Oh, that's entirely possible. It's the other explanation.
Okay, next up is number of CJ Fodry goals after the 80th minute.
This is mine first?
Yeah, and shout out to Mateo Clark, who suggested this on Slack.
Great one, Mateo. I'll take the under. I hope CJ proves me wrong, but I'm not going to. I feel like with this stuff, we often fall into, well, it happened last year, so it's definitely going to happen this year kind of mentality. And so it seems unlikely for many players to do that, right? Especially a guy who is not going to start all that often. So I'll say under.
Okay, Jeremiah, go ahead.
I wish this would have been a percentage question. Like 100% of his goals are going to come after the 80th minute. If he scores the first 79 minutes, something has gone wrong. Also, I'm going to go with under.
Okay. See, I think him not being a starter is an argument for it going over, because I feel as though he's always going to be the guy off the bench, and so most of his minutes are going to be like after 75th minute.
That's a good point, but also I'm looking forward in the season of like we have Vasquez back, and then we'll have more depth at all of these positions, and that maybe he's not okay. We have to throw him on because he's the only attacker left on the bench. It's like, we have some options, and I feel like his number might get called less often. Again, prove me wrong, CJ.
Yeah.
I hope I'm wrong. If he kills it, great, but I just think there's going to be more competition this year for him.
Yeah, which is also a good thing.
Absolutely.
Okay, next up we have Danny Pereira yellow cards. Last season he had 7. The year before that he had 9, and in 2023 and 2022 he had 8. So I set the line at 6.5.
Who's first?
This is you first.
I'm smashing that over. Again, maybe putting too much stock into what I saw in the Kansas City match in that first half, but the way we're like kind of counter pressing and the way they're asking Danny to like be more of a leader and kind of carry the team a bit more, I think he's going to see it as his role to do that sometimes. And I don't think he's going to get fewer yellows because of it.
That's fair because I mean he is in his 6th season now. Like he is a veteran. Like he has to have that veteran presence. Okay, and then Jeremiah.
But you think he feels like he sees his roles to get yellow cards?
I think it's not going to be, because I think one thing he's improved about is it's not as many yellow cards for dissent or like being frustrated. It's like
Right.
tactical fouls and stuff like that, which I think as a holding midfielder is your role sometimes. And so if he sees his role as being one of the SOBs on the team, then that's going to come along with yellow cards sometimes.
That's fair. I wonder how many Ring got that one year, right? Was it double digits? Like his second good well, I guess not his best year, but the next year, because I feel like he was a yellow card machine when he was playing that role, which I guess is where we're thinking maybe Danny's going to do, but gotta take the over here too.
Okay, lots of fouls, great. Up next we have Copa Tejas. The line is going to be 5.5 to give you an idea of how we did in the past. Last year we had 2.
This is
The year
out of a
before-
possible 12?
Correct.
Okay.
In 2025 we had 2. In 2024 we had 9. And in 2023 we had 6. This came from our friends at the False 9, who also wanted me to point out that only once has a Copa Tejas winner made the playoffs.
Oh wow.
Which,
so maybe be careful with how we pick here.
Most important
yes,
trophy.
be careful how we pick is what they were trying to convey to me.
The only way I wasn't taking the over if it was 11.5. So I'm going over here.
Sorry, what was the line again?
The line was 5.5.
I'm going to take the over as well. I know I have a brand, and I'll try to be realistic often, but the Copa Tejas is one where we throw that out the window here on Moon Tower Soccer.
That's fair. And also just, I think Dallas and Houston are going to be really bad this year.
I don't know if that's true, but I don't know that it's like a guarantee that they're going to be good. Like, I don't understand some of the hype about Dallas this year because they haven't brought in any real game changers. And like Petar Musa is going to score goals, but he did that last year and they weren't that good on the whole. So
yeah, I just don't see what either of them did that dramatically improves their team.
Houston has some like unknowns, like some new guys in the league that maybe they'll be great, but like they haven't been super good at that in the past, like bringing in unknowns that tear it up.
Well, and they brought back Hector Herrera.
That's what I was going to
right?
say.
But,
Yeah, some unknowns. Ache at 47 years old or whatever he is.
Yeah, like I didn't think he was good in his last MLS season, and now he's just like 2 years older. Like I don't know how that's gonna work out. Okay, up next, number of Matthew McConaughey appearances in stadium. This was proposed by Phil West. I was trying to figure out stats on this. One person very adamantly said there were 3 last year. Another person adamantly said there were 4 last year. I set the line at 3.5.
And this is during a game, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And I think we could probably do all competitions here. No.
Well, yeah, we can do all competitions. I would say game, or like something he likes to do is he likes to walk in front of the supporter section before the game. I think I'm willing to count that. But I don't think there's ever a time that he doesn't make an appearance at the match where he doesn't also walk in front of the stadium. Like I think that's one of those like, hey, I'm the owner, I got to do this cool thing. Things.
Yeah. I was just thinking if they like shot a promo or something like not during a game, and
the partner summit
like
does not
evidence
count.
of him having been there, not during an Austin FC game.
Oh yeah, I'll just stipulate during an Austin FC game.
And who's first here?
I believe you're first.
I'll take the over, partially because of the additional competitions. I feel like maybe there's chances for like some bigger moments for him to show up at. Hopefully we actually make it deep enough in those tournaments to have those big moments, but there is more potential for them.
I'm going to agree,
Okay.
and I'm going to go over, and I'm going to say it's because that is a man who loves attention, and he knows it's the World Cup year, and he might not even know that Austin isn't in the World Cup, so he may show up at Q2 expecting a game against Argentina, but I feel like knowing the spotlight's going to be on this game, on this sport, I feel like he'll be more present than he has been in the past.
I was about to ask that if you think World Cup stuff will affect this line. I think you're right that it could, like, depending on, we know MLS and US soccer have a close relationship as far as like promoting one another in certain ways. And we've already seen some ways in which MLS is promoting stuff around the World Cup and like owning some of the mailing list stuff and controlling some of the ticket stuff and things like that. So I think you're right, Jeremiah, that like McConaughey may be used in some promotional way, which might bring him to the stadium more often. To be clear, I don't care if he comes more often because they've stopped pushing the whole Minister of Culture thing so hard. So I don't care if he's there anymore.
I mean, if they set up another like free Pantalone shop booth, like hopefully he would man that for a little bit. That was fun at the preseason match that we got to go to.
Did he actually man it? He didn't man it.
No, he didn't man it, but it was just kind of funny that it was like, oh, yeah, we're giving out free shots of tequila. I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, that's a season ticket benefit in and of itself. Okay, next up we have number of Austin FC matches where teams combined for 2 or fewer goals. There were 21 of the 34 MLS matches last season were like this. So I set the line at 19.5. This is combined goals for both teams less than 2 or less.
God, for my own sense of joy, I need it to be less than it was last year. Like, be bad, but be entertaining. But also,
so the under is the positive take here, right?
Correct.
Okay.
The over would be thinking that it's going to be a more defensive season. The under is the more attacking season.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to go under.
Okay, and Jeremiah,
I'm going to go under.
You're going under? Okay.
Probably for hope. That probably like flies in the face of my Brad Stuver shutout prediction too, but it's okay. I'm hedging my bets.
This helps my Brad Stuver prediction. I'll also take the under. And I'm hoping that it's because Facu Torres also gives me the over on his goal thing.
Yeah, I think this is kind of interesting because it's kind of like a stylistic one of like, do we think Austin's going to be play similar style to last year? Or do we think that with the extra attacking talent, Nico's going to tactically change things? Because there is just more attacking talent on the team now, and it kind of makes a little more sense. And you can get them all on the field together, which we couldn't do last year. Okay, next up is number of knockout matches between Leagues Cup, US Open Cup, and MLS playoffs. So keep in mind that we're automatically given 1 because we're in US Open Cup. And so I set the line at 2.5. The other thing to keep in mind is I believe this year's MLS playoff format is not the best of 3, but going back to single knockout.
Oh,
that's
so like the first round could be a knockout game.
But like the play-in game would count as a knockout game if you think Austin's more of like an 8-9 seed.
Okay, this is mine first?
Correct.
I'm going to take that over because I think we should get more than one Open Cup game. And then if we get, we need to get 2 playoff games then, right? Okay, that is a good line. I'm still going to take the over. Maybe it's a bad idea, but I'm going to do it.
Okay, Jeremiah.
I'm also going to take it too. I just think there's so much potential for it that like maybe accidentally we'll end up in more of those.
So much hope.
Yeah,
so much hope.
We kind of did that last year, right?
No, everybody was really high on hope last year when we did this. It's really funny.
No, I meant we accidentally ended up in a bunch of knockout games last year.
No, because I set the line on like US Open Cup games, and I think I set it at like 1. Oh no, it was US Open Cup wins, and it was 1.5.
Well, it almost when was that? It almost wasn't that, right?
Oh, at halftime of the El Paso game, it looked like it was going to hit the under.
Yeah.
Dark days.
Okay, next up we have number of the first goal scorer for Austin FC, and I set it at 10.5. So keep in mind that Izuni is 10 and Facundo Torres is 11. And I set it at 10.5 because I didn't want to put both of them on the same side, because I know both of you last year were like, well, there's just more numbers if you go higher, but like I'm not going to go put both of our DPs on the same side of this.
But our attacking front is pretty evenly split on either side of that too.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised looking at numbers when the numbers came out that like there's not as many low numbers starting as you'd think. Or I'm sorry, there were more low numbers who were starters than I would have thought.
Yeah, I think Riley Thomas is one of the only lower ones who doesn't ever play.
Yeah, I think it's just him actually. I'd have to look at it again.
Jeremiah, you first or me?
I think I'm first. What number is Jaden Nelson?
You are 7.
Oh, okay. I'm going over. Going over. It's going to be either Owen
Going
or
over?
Facundo.
So we're not going to score in the first game, is what you're saying?
Oh,
because Owen ain't playing that game.
well, Facundo Torres could score our first goal in that game.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under because of Jaden Nelson. I thought you were about to do the same thing as me, but I'm calling the shot. Jaden Nelson scoring the first goal.
Cool.
I feel like I called this shot last year too, but I'm not going to. I don't remember who I said.
No, last year both of you were like, "There's just more numbers than 9.5." I'm going to take the over. Yeah, because if you look at the roster, like basically everybody below 10 is a starter except for Riley Thomas. Yeah, I mean, there might magically be a day where Stuver scores and we all rush the field and we all get banned forever, but it'll be worth it. So yeah. Okay, next up is number of announced sellouts at Q2.
Ooh.
And the line is 16.5. Because I'm sure that all the listeners have gotten just as many tickets being available emails as I have. And there's a few Wednesday matches that are going on in the season and a World Cup year with other, soccer things going on and being in multiple competitions. Do you think the sellout streak ends?
And this is all competitions or still MLS?
I'm just going to keep it to MLS because they only announced the
right. And some of those are like midweek ones where you're not really expecting a big crowd anyway.
Well,
like
they don't
the
announce
Open Cup and Leagues Cup and stuff like that.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they announced the attendance in the Open Cup games, or at least I don't think they did last year.
They may have in the final, but I think they'll do it like when it behooves them.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is to Landon.
Man, I'm gonna take the over because there are tickets available. There's not so many tickets available that they couldn't quote unquote distribute those on short notice and give them to someone who may or may not use them. And as I said on the show before, that is often all they count is tickets distributed, not tickets used.
But wait, you went over on that then?
He did.
Yeah. So I'm saying they're going to say there's a sellout every game this year.
No, this is the year the streak ends. Even if there were 20,738 people at the media game, as reported by Cam, I think I just don't think we can credibly keep that streak alive.
Well, they haven't credibly kept it alive for the last 2 years.
I mean, it's like so not credible. Landon, this is the part where Andy texts me and he's like, sometimes you're mean and we deserve it. And I feel like this moment, I'm going to hear about this tomorrow, but yeah.
I love the idea of Andy like texting you like his live comments as he listens to the podcast. That sounds really fun, actually.
I don't even, I'm not even criticizing them for doing a lot of this stuff.
Well, everybody does it, right? Yeah.
I'm not going to not say something when I notice they're doing it.
I mean, we're not down to like dollar hot dog night promotions or anything like that.
That's
but
true.
Like the number of ticket emails is like significantly more than we've had in years past, though.
I get so many FC Dallas ticket emails and like dollar hot dog night and superhero night and whatever else. So I think that's important to keep in mind when you're like some Austin FC fans compared to like the first few years, just like talking about, oh, this team is falling apart. Nobody's going to go anymore. There's not going to be anybody at the games. Like we're still a ways out from that. Like we could be FC Dallas. What was our refrain in the first few years, Jeremiah? At least we're not FC Cincinnati. Right?
Yeah. And now
we kind of are.
Well, and also Andy Lockney, if you're listening, like, yes, dollar hot dog night. Let's do this. Like, you can make this happen. Okay, next up, we have a fun one, which is percentage of goals Austin FC scores attacking the south end. I'm sure both of you are wondering the context of this. There are stats. All-time 56.4% of Austin FC attacking goals have been attacking the south end. A majority of goals have been attacking the south end except for the first season. And to give you an idea of the field's not tilted, which is that opponents only score 45% of their goals attacking the south end.
Interesting.
Yeah, very interesting stats. It probably means nothing, but it's fun.
There's like a big enough sample size now that I think these stats are like starting to mean something, right?
Yeah, I think we're up to 97 matches at Q2 for Austin FC, by my count. And so at some point, like that does actually become statistically significant. And I think we're kind of getting close to that area. So again, all time it's been 56.5. I set the line at 56.5.
In front of 97 sellout crowds. I'm gonna go over.
I'll take the over
Okay.
as well.
Okay.
No real logic here.
I mean, it's kind of one of those things that is just a fun thing to keep in mind, and also that like because this is a new team, we can keep track of these things.
Yeah, and
it's actually really easy to do.
Interesting, and like the players talk about it, right? They're like, I don't remember who this was, but I feel like I heard a player say like it like sucks the ball in, like the energy, like we feel it and we notice it, and so it's like a weird psychological occurrence that is happening in front of us.
Yeah, like as far as I can tell, opponents have never scored more than 50% of goals attacking the south end. Like it's never been higher than 50. So that's kind of an interesting thing. Okay, our last one, this is the 21st one, is Austin FC final finish. Higher is a better seed. So if you're taking the over, that would mean that you think they're going to finish closer to the top of the conference. If you're taking under, it means you're thinking they're at the lower of the conference. I set the line at 7.5. Today, the MLS writer Intelligentsia came together for their season predictions, and Austin, in the aggregate, finished 6th, which I thought was a little high, obviously based on line. And so this is to Landon.
I'm going to take the over, meaning I think we're going to finish above 7th, right?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know that I can defend this take at this exact moment, but I'm just hoping that I'm right.
Yeah, and you know the thing of the MLS writers is they pretty much always pick wherever you finished the year before, right? Like that's what it often comes down to.
That's true.
Except that they picked Galaxy to be 5th. That was kind of the one team that like jumped a lot. But that's just because I feel as though MLS writers always have faith in the Galaxy.
I was like, they can't be bad 2 years in a row, right?
Well, I mean, they don't have Pooch again. Like at some point, like that is going to matter. Okay, Jeremiah.
I'm also gonna be optimistic about our finish this season and go over.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that is all the regular lines, and then we have a tiebreaker. The tiebreaker is Austin FC MLS goals allowed. Last season was the best season in. Last season was the best defensive season in Austin FC history. They allowed 45. The previous year is 48, and 2023 was 55. So I just need, or both of you can DM me at the same time if you don't want to Price is Right it, or you can say it at the same time.
We're guessing a specific number. This isn't an
yes, this is a specific number as a tiebreaker.
Oh man, Jeremiah, do we want to send it into a chat?
No, I've got a number. Let's just shout it. Let's shout it out.
Hold on, let me think. Okay, I've got a number.
Okay,
3, 2, 1, go.
48.
54.
Okay, just to verify, Jeremiah, you said 48, and Landon, you said 54.
Yes,
correct.
Okay, I think both of those are going to be right in there. I think Landon is a little high based on history.
It's going to be exciting. There's going to be lots of goals. You heard it
here. But it also makes sense because you did pick the under on super clean sheets, and I felt like I feel like you had a good mindset of like things that could like synergistically work together. And I feel like this might work really in your favor or really against you.
Yeah, I was saying, is it a good mindset?
It's not, you're not hedging.
I like doubled down on a lot of them, which means I didn't hedge much and kind of diversify my assets, so to speak.
Okay, so that's the end of the game because that's all we went through all the lines, we went through total scores. Again, Derek Ensign graciously offered to put together a website for us, so we'll be able to have all the listeners compete for the same thing in terms of how much Austin FC knowledge we know.
And then Jeremiah will shame you on the show if you get dead last.
Only if you're specific characters in the history of this show.
Okay, so looking at it, 7. The two of you disagreed on 7. So there was a little bit of groupthink there, but I still think that's enough that we should be able to get a clear winner. And yeah, I do like the idea that like the winner gets praised and the loser gets shamed. That's a good promise.
All right. Well, Scott, this was a blast as always. Thanks so much for compiling all of this and setting the lines. I think you did a great job of, like you said, like setting a narrative for the season and kind of like not just, okay, we're going to finish 6th or 5th, like not just your place in the table, like some more in-depth thinking about how the season's going to go. So appreciate it as always. Anything you would like to plug, Scott?
Yeah, you can read all of my season previews starting tomorrow on the We Are Awesome TV Substack, and you can listen to me on the Suffering from Joy podcast. On Blue Sky, I'm Scott A. Speck, and I'm on Los Verdes Slack a little too much.
Aren't we all? All right. Well, we appreciate it, buddy. We will see you at Q2 very soon.
Yeah, can't wait.
All right. We want to thank Scott one more time for putting that game together. We know it's a lot of work, but it's a really great way to preview the season. Thanks so much for listening. We'd like to remind you to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Come find us on the internet. Sign up for the Patreon. We'll be back next week to recap the first game of the 2026 season against Minnesota United, and we'll be previewing the second game, which is against DC United, and cover any other Austin FC news. Until then, I'm Landon Cottam.
I'm Jeremiah Bentley.
We'll catch you next time.
When no one is around.
Thank for nothing, see you never.
La gente.
Oh my God.
Zula Chupa Boom Sauce.
Yeah.